Hello everyone, and welcome back to Revit Snippets, great tips you can learn in just a few minutes. In the lesson today, we'll see how to create in Revit this very nice ramp here. It's a concrete ramp with timber railing on both sides. As you can see, the slope is a bit substantial, and we also have to make sure this detail for the handrail is right as well. But once you know how to do this, it's really easy to get this kind of result. By the way, if you are new to this channel, make sure to subscribe now, because we do tutorials like this every single day. Alright, let's get started. I will firstly close this file. And now we can start fresh from a new template. The first step now is to create a footprint of our ramp. The trick here is not to use the ramp tool. This one here is very limited. We need to create our ramp using floor. Even though it's not really the right category, in Revit, floor is much more powerful. So let me go here to floor and just sketch the left hand side of the ramp. Something like this. And we can make sure there's a nice fillet here and another one here. The width of this floor, let's do 1500. Offset this now. And then we can make sure it's closed on that side and also this side. Nice. Let's now check it out in 3D. So as you can see, the ramp is now sitting on level 0. Let's move it now to level 1. And it's easy enough this way, but it's not the ramp without a slope. Let's give it some slope. I can now click on this now and click on modify sub-elements. And here you have your control points enabled. Let's say we want this one to be the lower end of the ramp and this will be the higher end. Let's now select all the points along this ramp. I can now change to the right view and just use my up arrow key on the keyboard to move those points up. Just like that. Now I know this is the lower end. I can now do Shift and Windows selection to remove those 2 points there from my selection. And I use the up arrow one more time. Move the rest up again. Remove other 2 points. If you don't like to use the up arrow key, you can also use the move command there and move this up by a small amount. But I kind of find it easier to use just the arrow key. Almost there. One more time. And the last time here. When I go now to 3D and maybe to the front view, that ramp is now nicely, slowly going up the curve like that. That's all I need for now. Next step, let's make sure this floor has a proper thickness. At the moment, this is much too complex. I will remove all the layers except for one. And make this one 200 mm in thickness. Here we go. For a typical ramp, this should be all of it, but this ramp here, the underside of this ramp is actually custom. As you can see, it has a sloping side here, a sloping side on the opposite, and a flat section in the middle. Let's do this now. To do this, you need to make an in-place component. So let's go to Component, Model in Place. Let's set this to be of the floor category. You can name it whatever you like, but for now, let's focus on the geometry. We're gonna go to File, New, Family, and create a profile family first. Metric profile, that's the one to use. If your company has a different set of templates, feel free to use the equivalent one in there. Now we can start drawing the profile of the underside of our ramp. Let's go to Line, and draw a line here going this way by 1500. I want the underside to be 200 mm thick, so let's draw a line here going down by 200. Let's go this way again by 150. Connect to there. I can now select this diagonal line and mirror it to the other side. Remove this now and finish off the profile like this. I can now save it as ramp underside profile. And you guessed it, we're gonna load it back into the project. Nothing happens because now it's time to use it, and to do so we need to firstly create a sweep. We're still in the in-place floor component editor, remember? I can now do pick path and select this to be the path for my sweep. Finish the path now. We can then select the profile and then choose the one we just created, ramp underside profile. It comes in rotated, but we can change the angle here easily. Maybe flip it as well. Here we go. Finish the sweep, and that's the first section. It's easier to see maybe in consistent colors. Here we go. Now you may be tempted to do this. Let me show you what you may try to do. Because the profile is there and the path is here, you may try to go up here, pick path again, pick 3D edges, and continue to pick the rest of your ramp, like so. But if I do now finish, there will be a problem. You see, this sweep here, sometimes it will go into your floor, and that's not a good thing to resolve. To avoid this, we need to create each segment as an individual geometry object. So let's remove the additional path segments. Back to here now. Edit the path again. And make sure we remove those lines. The first section should be here on its own. To do the next step, we need to create a second geometry object here. And because it's curved, we need to do not a sweep, but a swept blend. Go to pick path again. But this time, because it's not a sweep, it requires you now 2 sections or 2 profiles to create the swept blend. Let's do finish and then do select profile 1. It's the same profile we used before. And maybe the same rotation angle and the same flip action. Once that's in place, you can select profile 2, which is this one there. Get the same profile now. Rotate it, flip it, and click finish. As you can see, because we defined the sweep path and 2 individual profiles, it's now closely following the shape of our floor without clashing into the floor itself. Let's repeat this and do a second sweep. Here we go. For the next bend section, we need to create a second swept blend. And finally, for the final section there, we can create the third sweep. Amazing. I can now select all of them. And under material, let's assign this to a parameter. There's one here already, and we can just use that now. Click on finish model. And now we have the underside of our slab. Now if you look closely, one of the sections, it has an additional diagonal line there. There's nothing to worry about. All it's showing is that this face may not be perfectly aligned to this other face here, but that's usually a false alarm. Sometimes Revit has a problem with rounding numbers. So over here, if the sloping angle is 45 degrees, and this other one here is 45.0001 degrees, Revit will say these two are not sloping in the same way. And that's how it's adding this line here to separate them. Doesn't matter that much in construction, so we can just ignore this line for now. If you really want to turn it off, go to the level view where you have to see it. And just go to here, use the line walk tool, pick the invisible line, and override this line by clicking on it. That will make it disappear in your plan views. The same can be done in 3D, just like that. Anyway, there's something we didn't do, and that is making sure the ramp and this underside have the same materials. Let's select this, go to edit type, and select the same material here for the ramp. I know the floor is using that one, so let's tick on this and do OK. They're now having the same color. Also, sometimes the sweep object may fail to follow your ramp perfectly. If I go here to this end, for example, you can see there's a gap here, a small gap. Let's see what's happening there. If I go to the top view now, go to wireframe, I can see that the sweep object is having a rectangular cut-off point there, but the ramp itself is extending beyond that point. To fix this, simply go Modify Element, click on this point there, and then just move it to where it should be. Now this point is not movable because it's in the sketch of the floor. To move it, you need to edit the boundary of the floor itself, and then rotate this line so it can be there. Here we go. Now that's much better. Next step, we need to create the railing, but also don't forget to save the file first. Maybe RAM test. For the railing, we just have to go to architecture, do railing, and make sure you click on this and select a new host for it. Click on the ramp now, and then start picking the boundary of this floor to create a sketch. I will go on this side first, and then click finish. That's a good one there already, but according to the reference image, the spacing between those vertical slats or members should be more dense. Let's create it now. I can go to here, and I can see that's the baluster object being repeated. We need to make our own one. Let's go to File now, choose New, Family, and pick on baluster post. In here, we need to create 2 extrusion. If I go back to the reference image, you have here 1 vertical baluster on the inside of the ramp and 1 on the outside. They are then joined together by a small rail in between. So in here, we need to create 2 extrusions, not just 1. Let's go to the level view now, make a new extrusion, and just draw a profile now as a 25 by 25 rectangle. I can then select them and move those lines to this position there. If you find that you cannot move them diagonally, untick this box saying constraint, and how is possible. Click on finish, and finish again. We can now get this height to be 1100. Here we go. Let's copy it now to the other side. Let's try 50 mil, because I want to have this gap here for the rail later on to slide in. We can now save this baluster family, baluster 1, good name, and bring this now into the project. Go to 3D now, I can select this railing, go to edit type, go to baluster placement, and change this type there to be baluster 1. The spacing can now be less, let's try 50. And I don't want to have corner post or start post or end post. I can choose none for all of these 3. Click OK now, and that gives you a lot more members. This rail on top here is a bit wrong. Let's go to edit type, and before unticking this box here, we need to go to baluster placement and change the top constraint of those balusters to be the host floor. The top offset can then be the height of the railing, so 1100 in this case. Click OK now, and now I can untick this box, and it won't complain anymore. Let's go now to a top view. Something's wrong because, as you can see, we have 2 extrusions in the baluster family, but now I only see 1. The reason is this: if I go back to the baluster family now, I need to actually rotate this 90 degrees this way and load it back into here. So before, the rotation was wrong, that's why the baluster, it was having 1 item there and then 1 item here. That makes it look like it was only having 1 element, but actually it has 2. Alright, if you go back now to the reference image, we can see that the baluster unit on the outside, it extends its base beyond to cover the side of our ramp. Let's try that now. If we go back to here, this should be the one on the outside. I can now set the extrusion start value to be minus 250 and bring it back to the project. That looks much better. Anyway, if you look closely to where the curve bend starts and ends, you see there's a gap there. And also here. To make them go away, we need to edit the type of the railing again. Go to balusters placement And under break pattern add, set that to be never. We don't want to break this pattern, even if the railing was changing to another surface. So OK twice. And the problem is fixed. We can now create the small rail on top of this system. Let's go to edit type again. If you go under rail structure, there's nothing there at the moment. We need to create first a profile for the rail. I can go to families now, under profiles. There should be one here already for a rectangular profile, and it's this one. We can now duplicate this type and just call this 25 by 25 mm. Right click, choose type properties, and I can now change this to be 25 and 25 again. Back to the railing type now, I can go to edit type, rail structure again, and this time insert a new railing here. This one I can use the new profile we just created, so it should be this one there. And the height can be 1100. Click OK. And as you can see, now it's in there. However, the offset is a bit wrong. If I check this now from the top view, the rail itself has to be offset this way. So let's go back to type dimensions and change this offset to be 12.5. That's half the width of the rail profile. And because I've done that, now it's correct. Much better now. Anyway, just like in the reference image, these are timber members. So we can now go back to baluster placement and see that this is the family we need to change material for. Let's go to railing now. Baluster 1 is there. I can now right click there, choose type properties. And you notice that there's no material parameter there because we didn't create one. Let's go back to the baluster family now. Select these two and add the new parameter there. Material, okay. Now I can bring it back. This time when I go to baluster 1 and right click there, that's the one we just created. I can now click on this and set that to be a timber parameter. Maybe this one for now. Okay, here we go. It's now super easy for us to create similar on this instance. Pick the same host again, and then pick lines to create the railing on the other side of our ramp. Amazing. If I now go to this section here, that looks very nice as well. Next step, we need to create our column, because in the reference image, this column really supports the entire weight of this ramp. Also, they are circular column, so let me just load in here a circular column family. You can go to insert and choose load family. I kind of know where I can get one, so let me go straight there and just select this one there. Now to place a column, it's best that you start from a level view. Let me go then to the level 1 view. The ramp is a bit cut off there, so firstly we need to raise the cut plane. Let's try this to be 2 meters. Still not enough. Let's bring it a bit more up. Let's try 3 meters there and here as well. Now you see the entire ramp. I can now change the view to wireframe mode, so you can see the flat section that is below the ramp. We can now go to structure, do column. And now, let's place a column here. If I now try to select this column, it won't let me, because even though it's there and visible, I'm not seeing it due to the view range. Let's change the view range for this one again, and this time set the bottom and the level 1 to be unlimited. Now I can select it. We can then do array, and let's do this straight section first. I'm going to move to the last item in the array and do linear array. That allows me then to do this. And set the number of elements to be 3. That gives me this one in the middle. We can now ungroup this, set this to be the second array origin, and second one to be the polar array. Move to the last item still, and I want to have again 3 items. We can then place the center of the rotation somewhere. It should be here somewhere where the center of this arc is. If I do snap override, I can choose center. So when I hover my mouse over this, it will highlight this center point for me. I can now click once, and then just move this to the other side of the arcs. Because I set this to be 3 items, there's now 1, 2, 3 items in the array, but I can also go up one more and do 4. That's better for spreading the structural load. Let's do the same for the other sections. Here we go. If I now go to 3D, you have the whole row of columns there. The question now is how to quickly connect them to the ramp. Firstly, let's get them all like this and ungroup them. You can then select them again like this, and then use this attach command. Click on this, and then select the underside of this floor. As you can see there, it's going up to meet that element. However, there's some gaps here because the underside of this floor is not flat. Maybe it's much more safe to attach those columns to the actual floor above. Here we go. So you can see there's no more gap. If I now create a quick camera view, maybe looking this way, you can see everything is here now for us. Now, one bonus tip. If you remember when I did my railing, I could freely host those railings onto this floor. This is possible only in more recent Revit versions. Previously, if you edited a floor like this by modifying its sub-elements or points, the railing command then won't allow you to host railing on this floor because maybe it was too complex. So in earlier Revit versions, you need to manually adjust the height of your railing segments so it can follow your floor closely. To learn how to do that, check out the other video I have linked for you in the description. For now, if you like more tutorials like this coming every single day, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Have a good day, and I'll see you in the next lesson.